I'd like to come back and talk to you about exercise soon, because that's something that has been a real specialty of yours, and you're well known internationally for your skills and your ideas around exercise. But I wanted to talk about kids a little bit, and children getting overweight and the health consequences for them. We're just seeing it explode in New Zealand, as we talked earlier. If we let our children get over fat, what's their future going to look like? What's their life going to be like?
Statistically, they're going to be overfat adults. And unlike previous generations, what's happening is more and more children are becoming overfat, who then become overfat adults. However, they're not just overfat adults, they're overfat adults who have been overfat for many years. Now they're going to get adult diseases a lot younger, and we've already seen that. Type 2 diabetes used to be called adult onset because it was only seen in adults. And non-alcoholic liver disease is not something we ever saw in kids, but we do now. They're not alcoholics, they're sugarholics. And so we're taking that disease pattern and moving it to younger and younger ages. And again, a big part of the problem is that when these overfat children become overfat adults, they've been overfat long enough to start getting serious diseases earlier in life. So we see
cancers and
we see a 27-year-old woman being diagnosed with breast cancer, children with abnormal blood fats, so all these conditions are becoming more prevalent, and we see it in children. Well, what's going to happen when those kids get to be adults? They're just going to be worse.
Yeah, we'll end up with,
that's the problem.
End up with 30-year-olds with having, heart attacks and strokes,
Yeah, and also it's across the board. We're seeing 30-year-olds getting hip replacements. We're seeing 20-somethings with chronic pain syndromes. We're seeing people who are in places like India becoming diabetic at young ages when they're just getting over a malnutrition epidemic where people were starving to death. And they've jumped from starvation to overfat in a single generation or so.
But I think we can be overfat and we're still nutritionally starving. We're still devoid of good nutrition.
Yeah, without a doubt, people who are overfat, in a sense, are malnourished, truly. When you look at healthy food, we see there are thousands of nutrients. There's not just the vitamins and minerals, there's not just the macronutrients, which is your protein, fats, and carbohydrates, but there are thousands of phytonutrients. And these are all nutritional compounds that humans have been eating from the beginning, and it's what keeps us healthy. And when we eat junk food, we don't get a lot of those nutrients. We miss out on the complete proteins, or we miss out on the vitamins and minerals, and we certainly miss out on the phytonutrients because they are most prevalent in vegetables, but also in things like beef. And so, when we have junk food in the diet, we miss out on those healthy foods. And if anything, one thing that happens when we get rid of junk food is we start eating foods that give us nutrients. And in many people, it's the first time they've had all these nutrients.
Or they're supplemented in our foods. A friend messaged me tonight, and I don't know if you have Nutrigrain there. We have this cereal called Nutrigrain, which is just lolly cereal. And the advert, she said, oh, they advertise that it's got your daily iron requirement, and I'm like, it's supplemental iron. Like they're filling it up with B vitamins and,
And this is, excuse me, this is part of the junk food situation, is that we're not only processing what used to be healthy food, and now we're turning it into something that's no longer healthy and actually harmful, like flour and sugar, but we're putting in artificial vitamins. We're adding synthetic vitamins as if, well, we're going to put back the vitamins that we took out before. Well, why did you take them out in the first place?
Yeah.
And so those vitamins, those synthetic vitamins, become part of the junk food, and they are harmful. One example, folic acid. Folic acid is the synthetic form of natural folate. We eat vegetables, we eat turkey, we eat certain foods, and we get a lot of folate, natural folate. There's a variety of different forms. And that folate is used in our bodies to do a lot of important things, protein metabolism, and it influences genes, and it's one of the ways we prevent cancer. Well, what synthetic folic acid has done, it's been in use for decades now, is it appears that it has created a genetic mutation where the human body is no longer able to take that folic acid and convert it to folate. And so now we take in all this folic acid from all this junk food or from vitamin supplements that are synthetic, and that folic acid doesn't go anywhere. It can't convert to folate and be used as a vitamin. So it just sits there. It's called unmetabolized folic acid, UFA. There's now a blood test to measure it. And UFA increases the risk of all kinds of conditions and overall mortality. And it's a serious problem. And about 30 to 40% of the world now has this mutation.
So is this the MTHFR gene mutation?
Is. Yes. And it's important to know if you have it. I discovered I had it before they first recognized the mutation. I kept taking more folic acid because I was getting adverse signs and symptoms that indicated I needed more folic acid. Well, I'm already taking it. Well, maybe I need more. And then I realized that, there's a problem here. And then suddenly the research came out and they discovered this mutation.
They're still giving it here. Midwives are still handled, and doctors are still handing it out to pregnant women, and I know it's to stop, sort of midline defects, but we're getting lots of tongue-tie babies and things like that coming now as a result.
It's a serious problem, and it's another example of not wanting to address the cause of the issue. And there's a lot of interesting things about that mutation and folic acid, and how women need it, and if they're not given folic acid, they have babies that have deformities, but it only works 70% of the time. Well, gee, 30% of the population has this mutation.
Yeah.
And so of course it's only going to work. How about giving them the natural folate? Or how about getting them to eat a little bit of real food,
Yeah.
which is really the answer.
Mm.
And that'll address 100% and prevent 100% of those
But I mean, that's why they
damages.
put folic acid, iron, and B12. You know, fortify all our grains and cereals with it, and you know, it's to try and stop those deficiencies because people aren't eating real food, and they say, well, you know, they're going to eat flour-based foods the most, so we'll fortify all our grains and cereals.
Yeah, let's give the heroin addicts methadone. That'll fix the problem. Okay, yeah, hey, we've corrected the problem. They're now not taking heroin. They're addicted to methadone, and yeah, there's a lot of cost involved in it. But we've fixed the problem, haven't we? Not quite. So yeah, we again, we need to go back and say, well, what's causing this problem? And is there an easy remedy? There's usually an easy remedy, and let's fix it.
Eat real food.
Eat real food. What a concept.
Yeah.